I'm all set. So, making remote irresistible. This is the leadership program. I'm Tom Armstrong, Senior Director of Programming at the leadership program. I have some of my colleagues here today. I'm so excited to introduce them in a moment and hear their words of wisdom on how to make remote irresistible. Okay, jumping right in. And thank you so much, Jorge, and also to Melissa for hosting, having me here. All right, jumping right in. Next slide, please, Mr. Slide. Here we go. Okay, in the chat box, can you just put in there one, we said earlier about what you're grateful for, but also I want to get a sense of what's one obstacle that you face with engaging students online? What's one obstacle that you're experiencing? Put that in the chat box, please. Yeah, absolutely. Students don't come, like the recruitment. Yep, getting them to show up. Ooh, it's moving so quick. Staffing, you're feeling exhausted, having cameras on, tech issues, holding attention for a long period of time. Let's see, we got folks not participating, behavior management, having space at home to facilitate, again, holding attention. So a lot of it is about that getting students to actually come and then also engaging them once they're there. Getting them to get online after school because they're tired. Yeah, folks are experiencing burnout, a lot of screen time, and yeah, so much. Kids are exhausted. So, this is just flowing. Wi-Fi, yeah, potentially you could have Wi-Fi issues. Having no Wi-Fi. Thank you, Kevin and Melvin. Burned out, so much. Okay, I'm gonna quit reading them out loud, but thank you everybody for sharing that. So that's great to know because we're on the right track. A lot of what we're sharing today is mostly what we're doing is we're sharing information about, once you're there in your room facilitating, how do you make it engaging for your students? But we are also going to touch on and be able to answer questions related to how do I actually get kids to show up? That just wasn't in the description of the workshop, but I do think it's important for us to also address. So we'll get on some of that as well. But the main focus is student engagement when we're teaching online. So here we go. Oh, forgot that. Yeah, put it in the chat box. Okay, next. So here are our presenters for today. Aside from myself, we have Whitney Arnold. She's a community school director in Brooklyn, PS 152. We got Erin Finley. She's actually in the same building, but at a different school. She's a community school director at PS 315 in Brooklyn. We got Shawnee Box. So they're representing elementary school, Erin and Whitney. And we got Shawnee. She's representing the middle school because we know it's different for each context. And she's a community school director at MS 228 in Brooklyn. And Preston Graham, community school director at Cass High School in Brooklyn. And these are four people that I admire and just love to work with. So this is going to be so much fun for me just to get this work. I'm just excited to be able to do this workshop with them and be able to listen to their expertise as well. But before we do that, I wanted to dive into some sort of tips and tricks. So if you've been in my other presentations, it's common for me to do this, but it's also because I see this universally when people are using some kind of form of annotation. It really helps to draw the students in. Annotation just means the ability to draw on the screen. So quickly follow these directions with Zoom. You go to the view options at the very top of your screen, click on that little over thing, choose annotate, and then on this screen, go ahead and either text, draw, or stamp, and go ahead and draw just to make sure everybody knows how to do this. Just kind of like, we're gonna do a little mural on this particular screen quickly to make sure that you have the actual capacity to do it right now. Someone says they don't see annotate. Not everyone sees it. They don't have the option. Oh, interesting. For some reason in this Zoom session, it looks like annotate is not allowed. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the Zoom options. So that's okay. So in this case, it won't necessarily be interactive, but that's okay because actually this portion was going to be small. So no one has the option. That's fine. We're going to move on. But basically, these are the directions, and you'll get this in a PowerPoint PDF later, so that you can have these directions. As long as you on the back end make sure that your Zoom link has the ability to annotate. This is the first time I've experienced it where the option isn't there, so I apologize. Is part of, I think, what we were talking earlier about getting the tech to always work for you. That's my first tip, is make sure that you have annotation allowable on your Zoom. That was a trick slide. Okay, so the next one, I'll show you how this was going to work, is that you would then be able to annotate, and I'm able to do it for some crazy reason, so I'm just going to do an example of it. I'm going to use a stamp, and then I can put on the slide here where I am on this spectrum. So this is something that we love to use with the kids. I'm just going to jump right into some tips. All the way over here would be disagree. I don't like French fries. Over here is I love French fries. And in the middle is I kind of maybe like French fries. So if you have annotation, if your students have it, they can put it on here. And then you can get a sense of where they stand on any given thing. So you start with French fries, but then you can scale it up with, I feel comfortable with my computer, with my video on for 10 minutes. You can ask that question and then see where the students stand with that. It's a way to get feedback from the students. It's very low risk. And so I just have that tip, and I wanted us to experience it in Zoom, but there's another really cool way to do this. So first of all, I need to clear all the drawings, just clear what I did, and now I'm going to get out of annotation mode. And I'm going to screen share Google Jamboard. So again, I want this presentation to be really heavy in things that you can literally do tomorrow to make your presentation sparkle for the students. So Google Jamboard is a really great tool for having a shared document that students can interact with. And I'm going to just quickly change my screen share. Let's see, new share. And I'm going to go to an existing Jamboard. So I think everybody can see this. This is the way Jamboard looks. There's a slide, on the PowerPoint presentation, it'll show how to get there, but it's jamboard.google.com is how you get to, and it's incredibly easy to figure out how to use. But basically what this is actually from a trainer that we have that did this. And it's a shared document. So she invited all of her students to be able to share and work in real time on this document, right? And then students can create sticky notes, and that sticky note will then be movable in the classroom. So that this sticky note represents Brian. So I can do those same kinds of questions, knowing maybe unsure is in the middle, agree here and disagree here. And I just ask it out loud, and the students will literally move as if they're moving across the classroom. And a cool other feature of this Jamboard is that the teacher actually created a Bitmoji and is able to, through the features over here with this add image feature, was able to add the image of herself so she can actually position herself, and it feels a little more like a classroom. And it creates this dynamic for the students where it just creates the visual, like as if they're in a classroom. And that helps them to engage more like they do when they're actually in a classroom. Even though it's a cartoon, it engages the imagination differently than in my previous slide where it was just an empty slide, right? And the students really loved this, and she got a lot of great information from them. Other features of Jamboard is, she creates vocabulary slides on it. This little poem about friends, etc. So lots of different ways to use Jamboard, but I love the way she did this, including her little Bitmoji in there. And potentially the students could create their own Bitmojis if you want to have some sessions where they create their own, and then they could physically be in here. But yeah, I just love this because I can position myself where I stand on any given topic in the room. Okay, I'm going to go back to my presentation. So much tech. Okay, so Google Jamboard at jamboard.google.com. All right, so next, this is a video of a trainer that really stands out at the leadership program for her ability to engage students. The students just really love working with her. And I want, after we watch this video, I'm going to ask you for what you see that she's doing that would make a student want to go to her club and to be engaged. So she not only can recruit because kids talk about her clubs, and so that gets more students to show up, but also when they're there, it's just really engaging. So let's watch this video. And the video, because we're using Zoom, will be glitchy, but I think the audio should be clean. Text me if you're having issues with it.
Hola, hello, I'm Miss Savannah. Thank you for joining me today. So this is my overlay. I have different ones depending on which club I'm doing. Today I have Animation Club and Virtual Arts Club. I like using my different overlays because I know which group I'm working with. It also helps me keep track of the aims and the quotes I have for that day. I can also show my name, the club, and the time. I also like putting up the TLP logo, but you can put whatever company or program you're working with. It helps it give a more professional feel, and then the kids are always, notified of, oh, we're with the leadership program. I could also get a 21st century logo, I guess, for when I'm doing community schools. I didn't think about that.
That's a little LOL.
The fun thing about these overlays is you can edit them how you see fit. The program I use is called Streamlabs OBS. OBS means Open Broadcaster Software. So you can find different programs if you don't want to use Streamlabs. I'm also using an app called EpochCam, EPOCCAM, and it helps me use like 2 cameras so I can show my hands. Oh wait, I'm not showing my hand. Let's change it. Hey, I'm still over here in the corner, but you can see my hands and then you can see whatever I'm working on. Since I do animation, sometimes we'll do digital work, and instead of just streaming my screen, they can actually see me working, and then I can also zoom in and zoom out. All right. I also like having places so that they can display their work. All right, so this is one of my groups. This is for Visual Arts Club, and they post their artwork like Instagram or any other art sharing platform, but it's only with us. It's only within our class, so they feel comfortable that no one's going to be making fun, and then they can have little comments, they can share their work. I really like it. So yeah, when I use these tools, I feel that it helps the students know that I'm actually thinking about keeping them entertained for one, but that I actually care about what they're looking at, and when they can tell, oh, Miss Savannah cares, then they try to care. At least that's what I find. Luckily, the webcam rate is pretty high for most of my clubs. When you come in, you'll see at least 3 or 4 of them, maybe even 8, will have their webcams on, so it feels like we're actually talking to each other. But yeah, I hope this was helpful, and thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Aw, Savannah. I don't know. I just feel good when I watch that, and I've seen it a bunch of times. So I see Laura is saying Miss Savannah's tips are great, and she could listen to her all day. Great resources too. Yeah, she's amazing, right? I mean, what an amazing person. And so you just see that. One thing I think is interesting about, well, actually, I'm going to shut up. I want to hear more of your perspective on Savannah. I could gush and just talk all day, but what did you see her doing that would engage students? It could be tech or her personality, whatever it is.
That she's also learning as she's going.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, she's learning as she's going too. She's sort of modeling that idea of lifelong learner. Setup is eye-catching. Yes, actively working with content. Yep, awesome. That they're talking about. Mm-hmm.
I like how she has the feature that they can actually see her screen as well. I think that's a great feature for the students.
Yeah, so that's at elgato.com. Thank you for mentioning that. elgato.com, you'll see the slot, you'll see it down below, and then EN Epic Cam. And basically that enables her to have a separate camera that shows her hands working. So when she's doing visual arts work, the students can see that, but they can also see her face. Yeah, she figured that out. She's soft-spoken. welcoming and guiding students with innovative ways to best grab their focus. Yes, her personality is awesome. Them seeing her surf through a website is nice for students to see her looking at her work. Yeah. Very considerate of different things from tools to even the greeting being bilingual. Yeah, so interesting that, there's all these steps that she's doing to be incredibly inclusive. And so that means more students are going to sit in her class and want to come back. And her smile is infectious. One thing I love about Savannah too is that I don't look at her and go, we think sometimes like, what does a dynamic facilitator mean? And then we picture, I don't know, like someone who's in theater and just has this like, hey, and that also works, of course, but she's not doing that. She has this, you don't have to be the sort of, super charismatic personality, like this dynamic thing to be engaging. I think the authenticity and the attention to detail with her students and caring for her students makes her very sort of like loving as a personality. And also she gives really clear directions. Yeah. So that's great. So I wanted to sort of highlight her skill set in so many different ways, the tech, the personality, and the psychological safety, I think, that she creates in her classroom. I feel so safe listening to her and being a part of her class. And she uses the same, right now that's a video for us, but she uses the same techniques when she's live with the students. There was a question earlier about whether or not that Google platform is something that can be integrated into Zoom. To my knowledge, you can only use it separately. So you would invite students, they would have a separate screen that they engage with, but that might be different depending on the platform you're using. All right, so moving on. Let's focus on elementary school. And our first presenter is Whitney Arnold. She's going to get spotlighted now. Whitney, Community School Director, PS 152. Again, just so happy to be able to work alongside these people. And Whitney's going to share her slides. So Whitney, you can just tell me when to go to the next slide.
Awesome. Can you hear me, Tom?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, my name is Whitney, and we can go to the first slide, Tom. So my tip number one is a tip that I use for myself and that I like to use in the classroom is just do the worst first. So we're going to do the worst part of this first, which is talking about consequences. It's everybody's least favorite part, especially when it's so hard to engage. Being fearful of having consequences for fear of getting them out and not being able to pull them back in is a genuine concern. But it's one of those things that setting up boundaries, as difficult as they can be, is actually, like Tom mentioned earlier, creating that psychological safety of making them want to come back. So in that moment, they might be really frustrated, but having those boundaries and having those things in place actually does make them want to come back in the long run. So one thing I wanted to actually point out is that when you log on to Google Classroom, this may or may not be a feature that's available across the board. I know Google's trying to implement it more and more, but if you use a DOE account or a at G Suite account through your school, this little icon will pop up in the bottom left-hand corner. And it's one of my favorite icons because it has one of my favorite consequences, which is taking away the chat box. So if the kids are getting a little bit, a little rowdy, they're starting to lose focus, they're only chatting in the chat box and they're not participating with you, we can have warnings, 1, 2, 3. On the third warning, that chat box is getting taken away. And trust me, it works every time. They love the chat box, even if they're not using it. The idea of it being gone is terrifying. So that's one of those things that I like to use in the case of I'm having trouble with engagement, I'm having trouble keeping their focus, having those consequences in place. So as you see on that little safety icon, it has a bunch of other great safety features, but one of them is you can turn off the chat, you can turn off sharing their screen, and that third option is just you can decide whether or not you're letting people in or out. And as you all know, you can also remove, when you're the person that's in charge of the meet, you can remove somebody. So again, I know it's really tough. You don't want to remove somebody when you already have so little, but knowing that there's those boundaries set up and knowing that there's that psychological safety really does help in the long run. And so keeping those boundaries secure from day one is actually a great engagement skill. So we can go to the next one, Tom. So the second one is embrace the chatty Kathy. And the reason I say that is because we've all been part of where we meet up with somebody, and I do it all the time. I've gotten 10 times chattier since COVID because I'm not having interaction, right? We all are just so talkative nowadays, the kids more than anybody. Because when you really think about it, and we're in this virtual world, before they used to have 8 full hours where they're doing instructional time, but they're also really getting to socialize. In this remote world, they are having a lot less social time. They're maybe having 3 hours of live instruction. And because that 8-hour block got condensed to 3 hours, and it's instruction, and then they close off. And then they come to you for after school, and they've had no socialization time throughout the day. So budget in time for chatting. If you put your whole schedule with lesson activity, and then it's done, you're gonna lose a lot of them because they want to talk. And then you're gonna feel frustrated, like, oh, I'm not getting to my lesson. I didn't budget in enough time for all this chatting. The chatting is good. It keeps them coming back. It connects them to each other and to you. So if you have a 40-minute lesson, make it a 10-minute lesson and put in that other 30 minutes for the chatting, for the bonding. It's really, really gonna help, and it's gonna alleviate a lot of stress for you too. Next one, Tom. Let's get physical. The other one that I like to do is when you're keeping things short and sweet, we like to talk and have physicality incorporated. So if everyone can hear me, put your hands up. And then you see the whole screen, everybody's hands are lighting up. You see the fingers, the jazz fingers, and you can keep talking, give a little bit more instruction. Okay, if everybody heard that one, we're all on the same page, give me a little jam, a little jig move. You know, and you can tell them these physical check-ins. So every time to check in to make sure they're still with you, make it something physical, make it a call and response that you can see and that gets them up and moving, and it can be pretty regular. You know, every couple sentences to check in with them. You can go to the next one. So this last one I really like because it's non-assignment-y assignments. It's a way that we keep our students really engaged, and I've seen a lot of people do it in different ways. One of our trainers does a lot of riddles. They do activities, like things that will take them off the screen that they can do with their parents. And we have a lot of our trainers just talk back and forth when they're not on screen doing live instructions. They're on with like Christopher, he posts, what's your favorite character? And this is 3 comments, but he makes it an assignment, and they have a whole back and forth on another page. And they go back and forth talking about their favorite movies, what they liked. And then so when he comes back into the club, he has something to bond them with. He knows what to look up on the outside and bring it into the classroom and really make it more engaging for them. So just, again, that chatting is so valuable and so necessary.
Whitney, that was incredible. Thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have time to answer any questions because we're on a pretty tight schedule, but that was amazing. And I think everybody gets a sense also, like, this is why I said earlier, I'm so proud to work alongside these people because they really are so knowledgeable. All right, thank you so much, Whitney. Next genius is, and I mean that sounds like I'm being sarcastic. Next brilliant person, Erin Finley, Community School Director at PS 315 in Brooklyn. Okay, hi, Erin. Can we get Erin's spotlight, please?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Whitney. Thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Melissa. All right, so here are my top 5 tips for virtual retention for elementary school scholars. And Tom, if you could take us to thank you. Tip 1, create a routine. Create a routine, create a routine, right? We all have our morning routines. We have evening routines. We want to implement that within our clubs as well, so the kids kind of know what to expect, but also keeping it flexible. So with the leadership program and all of the clubs in my school at 315, next slide, we do warm-ups and check-ins. We post our aims and objectives. We move to our main activity. We implement processing questions using the experiential learning cycle. And then we close out and we wind down, right? And next slide, this could look like, this is one of my favorite warm-ups for K through 2.
Shake Your Sillies Out from the award-winning CD, Kids Country.
So to Whitney's point, you want to get them physical, right? This is one of my favorite ones. We shake the sillies out. So go ahead, you can turn your camera on or off. You can just shake your sillies out real quick. And they love, when you're interactive, they want to get interactive too, right? When you're excited about stuff, that gets them excited about stuff. So I love to shake my sillies out. I don't know about you. Thank you, Tom. And so for more, for some of our more advanced students, like our 3rd through 5th graders, a closeout might look like a simple 5-minute meditation, right, of mindfulness. So the last 5 minutes of your club, you want to get them centered and focused.
Welcome to this short mindfulness
Go to
meditation.
YouTube, type in meditation for kids.
Find a
play
place
this.
where you can sit.
They can. This is an opportunity where they can have their
for kids.
Videos off
Find a
or
place where
on,
you can sit and relax
and
for
just
5
sit and
minutes.
relax for 5 minutes.
You can close
So right
your
now, I
eyes
feel
now.
some of you, your shoulders are a little tense.
Wow.
Go ahead and let those
It's quite
shoulders
dark
down.
here behind
Feel
your
grounded.
eyelids.
Feet on the floor.
Now keep your eyes closed.
If
and
you choose,
imagine
keep your
that
eyes
you have a
closed.
magic
Inhale through the nose
mindfulness
for 5
wand
counts.
floating in front of
Exhale through the mouth for 5 counts.
you. You can
Let's do
control
that
this
quickly.
magic wand with your
And
mind.
inhale, 1, 2, 3,
Imagine
4,
that wherever you
5,
shine the light of the wand,
and exhale,
that's
5,
where your attention
4,
goes to.
3, 2.
Your mind
1.
may wish to think about
Awesome.
other things.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
but
Tom.
see
Next
if you
slide.
can direct it back
So my tip
to wherever
1.
your magic.
I don't want to go to the
Well-
next slide.
My tip 1 was create a routine. Create a routine.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom. All right, tip 2, scholar buy-in. This is so super important for retention, right? What do you mean by buy-in, Ms. Erin? Have options, really, plain and simple. Have options. So for example, my visual arts class, have options of a one and done project or types of activities to do on any given day so that the scholars feel like they are structuring their club and they have ownership, right? They feel proud of what they have contributed to a structure that is routine, right? So next slide, please. For example, this could look like option A, leaf people. Option B, tissue paper tie-dye. So real quick, I want all the people on this call for me. I'm gonna count down from 5. And if you could go back to the last slide, please, Tom. I'm gonna count down from 5. And if you think you would enjoy doing leaf people today, I want you to put a happy face emoji, right? So if you go to the scroll over your screen where the emojis are, you can put a happy face for leaf people and a heart for tissue paper tie-dye. Okay, happy face for leaf people and heart for tissue paper tie-dye. And you can use the chat box as well. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Awesome, I see a lot of hearts. Okay. Awesome, very good. So today, if we were in Miss Erin's visual arts class, we would be doing tissue paper tie-dye, okay? Thank you so much. Next slide, please, Tom. All right, virtual attention for elementary school scholars. Tip 3, establish roles and responsibilities. Establish them, do it, assign responsibilities. We remember when we were younger how much we wanted to help out around the house or with our siblings or pass out papers with our teachers. We can still do that virtually, right? So assign responsibilities. For example, have your staple scholar or your star student or simply the student with the best attendance be responsible for bringing a new friend each week, and or have the scholar who is having a hard time staying focused choose the background music to the activity scheduled for that day. And I can't tell you the joy that brings our scholars at 315. That focus will snatch right up, right? You know what, Tom? I would like for you to choose the music today for our visual arts activity. All right, next slide.
That would make me so happy. I love being in control of music.
Exactly. So this could also look like a sound engineer, a meeting greeter, a note taker, a brain break leader. That would probably be my favorite, right? An attendance taker, a calendar captain. That's a good one. A joke teller, and also a timekeeper. And let me tell you, my kids, we facilitate on Google Classrooms, and they will text, if our club starts at 2:45, they will text you at 2:43 and say, hey, where's the link? We're about to begin, right? That's that retention. All right, next slide. Thank you, Tom. Awesome. Tip 4 for virtual retention. Keep it short and sweet, period. Okay, keep it short and sweet, period. This goes back to what Whitney was saying. Keep your instructional talk time to a minimal 1 to 2 minutes, breaking down instructions in sections. Okay, keeping the attention of elementary age scholars is difficult. We know that. So it is imperative to do more interactive activities than to be lecturing about the actual activity. Okay, hashtag tell and show. All right, you like that switch up? Hashtag tell and show. So actually, I see Joanne just wrote in the chat box. Joanne, could you be fearless for me? Unmute yourself and read my quote for me. Or I don't mean to put you on the spot. If anybody wants to read the quote for me.
I got it.
Thank you.
Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I'll remember. Involve me and I learn.
Oh, come on. Yes, yes. Thank you, Joanne. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I'll remember. Involve me and I learn. I don't know truer words that have been spoken. Okay, one of my favorite quotes. All right, thank you, Tom. So this is my last tip, guys. Tip 5, be you. Be who you are. Be who you are. When you are your most authentic self and are able to exemplify confidence with who you are, that may lead to captivating engagement and building long-lasting relationships with your scholars. Okay, next slide, please. So before I was a community school director, I was a facilitator, and I have an arts background. So I would more than likely be facilitating a dance club, right? So next slide, Tom.
I've acted out my life in
Pause it for me. Thank you. I wanted to go through this first. So about Miss Erin, right, as a facilitator. I was raised in ATL, Georgia, if you could tell by the accent. My favorite color is cobalt blue. I majored in dance for high school and college undergrad. I studied at Albert Ailey in Manhattan, New York City. And I have, fun fact, literally bumped into Morgan Freeman on the streets of New York City. All right, and that's a story on its own. So this is an example of the talent show that I would do pre-COVID, but of course virtually as well. Go ahead, Tom.
I've acted out my life in stages with 10,000 people watching, but we're alone now, and I'm singing the song.
One of my favorite pieces from Avon Ellie, choreographed by the master himself. A Song for You, Donny Hathaway. Love it, but this is something that I would show and then have my kids do, of course, afterwards. Those are my top 5 tips, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And Tom, that's all.
Thank you, Erin. I'm sure I see in the comments that people are feeling this way. I'm just so inspired right now. I like, it's just really fun to hear your perspective on this, and also just to watch your facilitation style. I think we're all learning from you in terms of, you can see these different types of facilitation styles that all work. There's this dynamic you're not, like, if we said Savannah was awesome as a facilitator, and then that's the one model, then people think, oh, that's what I should try to be. But also Erin is and Whitney, great facilitators. You're also different. And so I think I loved your comment about being authentically you. But yeah, and someone just said, Lashea said your energy is contagious. So true. I just feel so connected to the group and to you right now after that. So thank you, Erin. Awesome job. Here we go, moving right along. Now we're going to go into middle school. And for here, another great person. We got Shawnee Boxill, Community School Director at MS 228 in Brooklyn. Can we spotlight Shawnee? And Shawnee, can you say a couple words so we know we can hear you?
Hey, can you hear me?
We can. Okay, you ready for me to go to the next slide?
Yes. Hello, everyone. So I'm at a middle school, right? And I call it the awkward years. I don't know if any of you know Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but there's like an awesome quote that the main character says that is, let me just say for the record that I think middle school is the dumbest idea ever invented. You like me who haven't hit growth spurt yet, mixed in with these gorillas who need to shave twice a day. And basically that is what we're working with, right? Like we have kids who've never crossed the street by themselves, with kids who, take 2 hours on the train to get to school by themselves. So I feel like middle school is like this weird social experiment of like, we throw them all in and watch them hit puberty and see what happens. And we're in the middle of all of that, trying to work with what they want. And what do they want? Well, the question is, they don't know, right? And so we know if they don't know. Because it changes every week. 1 week they like this, the next week they like that. And as older people, to them, we're totally clueless. You can go to the next slide, Tom. So my first thing to say is give them what they like and not what you like. We love to say, when we were a kid, when we were kids, we ran on the streets. We didn't need all of this. When I was a kid, I loved doing jump rope. When I was a kid, they don't care. They don't care what we did as kids. They're not interested. To them, we are ancient. So telling them, well, why don't you do this? Because when I was a kid, I liked doing it too. 80% of the time, they don't care. Just because you said you did it when you were a kid. You could try just giving it to them as if it's new. Like, we see the same songs regurgitated decade after decade, and the kids think it's new. And we're like, this song is like from 1960. But to them, it's a new song. So just let them be, right? Let them have their new song, because that to them is cool. Us saying it's from 1962 is not cool. It's voice and choice, right? Interest forms, I have interest forms at my school, Google Forms right now. So we have a schedule. Once we have our schedule basically together, we give them a choice. Middle schoolers, I find 6th graders especially, when they come in, when they transition from the elementary school where they're given a schedule that they have to do, versus when they get to 6th grade and now I'm saying, No, you can choose what you want to do. And after school, there's already total buy-in because they don't have to go to a class that they don't like. So on the forms, we give the classes that we're giving. They pick what they want, but at the end of the form, it says, is there a class that you want that you don't see here? Let us know. And sometimes it's stuff that we can't do, but sometimes it is things that we can do. So at my school, we now have Greek mythology because kids asked for Greek mythology. I had a student come to me and ask for a Beyblade club, and which my son is 21 and he did Beyblade when he was in junior high school. So I didn't know this was a thing anymore. And I was just like, I mean, if you can get me 5 kids, at least 5 more kids that want to do it, then we can do it. He came back by the end of the day with 9 kids. By the time we started the club, we had 18 kids on the first day. So give them what they want. Also, check in with them. If you see that you start with 18 kids, and then as the weeks go on, it's less and less kids coming, you know, call that kid, you know, hey, what's going on? Like, why did you stop coming? It might be there's an issue with another kid. It might be, you know, and if you have that rapport with them and you say, and they're like, I'm just bored. Like, I thought I was going to want to do this and I don't want to do this anymore. And if a lot of the kids are feeling that way, be okay with being flexible. Our Beyblade club wind up turning into, not Pokemon, I can't remember the other card game thing that they play, but it switched from that. Right now I have a jewelry making club online, and one day they were talking about yarn or something, and suddenly it became, do you guys like crochet? Do you think maybe you want to do that too? So now it is jewelry making / crochet club because all of the kids in the club want to do crocheting too. So if that's going to keep them coming, listen, you like it, I love it. I'm all for it. We also have semesters. So we have my school, we have fall, winter, spring. So about every 10 weeks, we change the schedule. So if you have a kid who started in coding, their thinking is, I don't really like this anymore, but they know in a couple of more weeks, I don't have to do coding anymore if I don't want. I can switch to anime club, right? Then you might keep them coming instead of them just not coming back anymore because they think there's not an option for them to switch. We also have club care packages because, as we all know, we work with the kids who don't have a lot of resources. And if they were at the school, we'd be giving the jewelry making things, we'd be giving them the art kits, right? We'd be giving them the crayons and things to work with. So create care packages, buy in bulk. The beginning of this year, my house was filled with crayons, markers, wire for jewelry, and I got baggies and I put it all together. So when the kids signed up for the club, I said, on this day, you can come pick it up, a parent, whoever, make it accessible to them that they can come get it. And so they know that if I want to be in art, I don't have to just sit and watch the other kids do art. I can participate too. You know, everybody has the same supplies, so you know what you'll be able to do with them. And I also tell the kids, if it's an issue with someone coming to pick it up, let me know on the side, you know, like we'll work something out. Like, I don't want any kid to feel like they cannot participate in a club because they can't ask their mom or dad or, you know, whoever they're living with for supplies. You can go to the next one, Tom. So even though I have about 25 clubs, because I have 350 kids that I take every year, Roblox is the biggest club I have. It is the simplest game. The graphics are so like Atari level almost. I'm dating myself, but it is very effective. These kids come consistently every week. I just had to open a second session on another day because I had to cut it off. And parents were emailing me, telling me their kids still wanted to be in this class. You can go to the next slide. So what is it? If you've been around any kid from 3rd grade to 8th grade, then you know what Roblox is. They're kind of obsessed with it. But basically, it's a multiplayer online role-playing game. That's the official word for it, right? Why it's so great for us is, one, it's free. The kids do not have to pay any money. Mom and dad doesn't have to put on a credit card number or anything like that. It's completely free to sign up. They can play it on their laptop, on the tablet, on a smartphone. It works on all devices. Like I said, it's like basically age 8 to 13. So you can start at around 3rd grade. Depending on your kids, you can maybe age that up or down a little bit. There are over 200 games, so you are not going to run out of things to do. And any staff that you have that plays video games, plays Xbox or any online games can figure this out. Trust me, I thought it was going to be complicated. It is not. You can go to the next one, Tom. So the best practices, I would say, is create a private server. So important. The parents like it. The kids like it. It's exclusive. They know they're only playing with the kids in that club. Average server is about $5, and it gives you 4 weeks of play, which is just enough time for them to start to get bored of it and want to play another game anyway. So whether you're in Google Meet or you're in Zoom, you can keep it open while they're playing on a separate screen, because in Roblox, you can only type to communicate. So this way they feel like, it's they can just play the game. They don't have to stop and type to somebody else. Voting for the game choice is a big thing. Like it can take from when you start your new game to another one, right? But let them pick the games and vote for the top 5. They can also post like during the week, like my kids do, like, hey, I just started playing this new game. You guys check it out. And they'll check it out during the week. So by the time they come back to class, they can discuss whether the group really wants to play it. Make sure you are looking at the game before you approve it, because there are games that have guns in it and violence in it. There's no like blood, but obviously, we can't have that. And some games are constricted to how many kids can play at a time. They also play this game all the time. You might catch your kids, if you have kids, like 12 o'clock at night playing the game. And they like to record themselves, watch it on YouTube and stuff. You can have them screen share and a difficult game and have the other students help them win the game. And for older kids, I would say if your kids have a background in some kind of basic coding, and your facilitator does as well, you can create your own game in Roblox. It's Roblox Studio, which is also free. So I would say like you can create this tomorrow, and if you have kids in middle school, they will come. Thank you, Tom.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much, Shawnee. It was great. I love how real that was about the middle school experience. Susan asked a question about, where Roblox fits into the next gen standards. And I would say, I think she made it clear, especially at the end of the presentation, that first of all, the Roblox idea is about first of all, engaging and getting the students there, right? That's a way that we know it's working to get students to come, and it's a safe environment for them to be in. Taking it to the next level then, like that's your entry level to being able to get into like some simple coding and the development of their own stuff. So that's, I think, how it would connect to the standards. There's probably other ways as well, but we unfortunately don't have time to dive into it. But Shawnee, thank you so much. Again, I'm loving experiencing the spectrum of what great facilitation is like, because everybody's so different in their personality, and yet it's also rich. Yeah, Shawnee, I love the way that you teach. Thank you. All right, moving on now. He's going to take us home is Preston Graham. Preston, can you speak into the mic? Let me know we can hear you.
Yes, please let me know if you can hear me.
Yep, we can hear you, Preston, and I see you. All right, so Preston Graham, Community School Director at CAS. I'm so sorry. Can you remind me what CAS stands for?
Cultural Academy for the Arts and Science. It's actually CAAS, the Cultural Academy for the Arts and Sciences High School. It's in Brooklyn.
That's my typo, and great apologies to anybody from CAS. Should have made that CAAS. So that's my embarrassment, and all respect to CAS staff and students and families. So down in Brooklyn at CAS. So Preston, I'm going to go to the next slide.
Thank you very much. So first of all, good morning, everybody. Thank you for letting me facilitate today. The first thing I'm going to talk about is, since I'm in high school, I need to do relatable things to the students, with the students. And as we all know, the students love to be on social media. So I had to create an Instagram for my high school in order to get some information out. I told my students about it. I said, hey, if I create an Instagram and it tells you information, are you going to follow? They say, yeah, of course, Mr. Graham. Yeah, we're going to follow. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Created an Instagram. It seems to be working, especially now. And this gets them into classes because now they know, hey, we have mural arts going on this day. Hey, we have culinary going on this day. And sometimes I do birthday shout outs. So just to make them feel included. So Instagram has been a great way to get everybody into the classroom. Now, I put TikTok up here. I hate to admit this, but I don't know how to use TikTok. I'm still learning, but I think that's like the newest thing that everybody's on right now. So TikTok would be a great idea if you know how to use it. I'm not even going to lie to you and act like I know how to use it, but I'm learning right now. And I think that's another great tip to get the kids engaged in knowing what's going on in the school, knowing what's going on as far as your after school, or if you have any during school projects. Once again, giving out birthday shout outs. I think it's a great tip. Another thing I have on here is Remind. Now, a lot of you might be familiar with Remind and a lot of you might not be, but I use Remind. It's a texting app. So you can put people in different groups. On my Remind, I have parents that's in one group. I have the students that are in another group. I have different grades in different groups. So I have 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So I can get information out to them right to the text. And Remind is great. It's a great app. You can download it on any phone. You can actually like make up different categories as you go along, and it's so easy to download, and it takes a lot of burden off of getting information out. A lot of times we email, and the kids don't respond to email as much as we would like them to, but they're always on their phone. So Remind is just a great app to have. Tom, you can go to the next slide. So what you want to do is communicate your agenda. Actually, some of my colleagues talked about this before. You want to have a warm up, a main activity, and a closing. Before I was a CSD, I was teaching acting and film and script writing. So what I would do as a warm up, I would do like a breathing exercise. And then I would have my main activity is what is improv? And then we would go into what improv is. I would tell them, you know, different stages on how to do improv. Let's do different skits. Let's do different type of techniques. And then we will have our closing. What's one thing that you want to take away from today? It's so important that the kids know that you have like a steady agenda. So you want to make sure that everything is as clear as possible. Some of my colleagues talked about this before, but you want to also have a call and response, or like a thumbs up, thumbs down. Like if everybody can, I'm going to actually go to a gallery view. If everybody can hear me right now and is everybody's paying attention, can you just give me a thumbs up? And it can be just a thumbs up from the reactions that you have on Zoom. I'm seeing a couple thumbs up, but some people put their cameras on. Thank you very much. I just want to know that everybody's there and everybody's paying attention. You already put your cameras on, so you're already ahead of what I'm saying. Sometimes you can ask the kids to put their cameras on just so you know that you're talking to someone. Virtual has been a very, very different thing for me. I have never done it before. Just started in March, in April, like everybody else. But I find that like just asking the kids, just turn your cameras on for a moment. I don't care what you look like, care if you have your do-rags on, your bonnets, whatever. Just turn your cameras on. I want to see your beautiful faces. Turn it on and turn it off, just so you know that they're there. And also we do have chat. So some kids won't come on camera. It's just inevitable. So if you're there, respond to me on chat just so I can see you. I'm just happy that you're here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we can go to the next slide. Discover their interest. Now, what I had to do and what I had to discover is that kids love to take polls, especially high school kids. They love to have some type of control. So if you can kind of give them the narrative and say, hey, I'm gonna do this poll about What would you like to see happen after school? Did you like what we did before? Is there a new idea that you have? And I think Shani touched on that as well, giving the kids the power as much as possible. Once you give them the power to choose what they would like to do, and you can actually give that to them, they are going to want to be a part of that club. So conducting polls is great. Email and Google Forms are your friend. Google Forms I use for everything. You'll be surprised how much these kids love to just have their input just heard. They just want to be heard. And speaking of wanting to be heard, I do a lot of student town halls. I try to do them twice a month, where I have the students just talk about, what's going on. What are some things that they think that some things they think can change? What don't they like? Is it too much work? Is it not enough work? Do they feel that people are listening to them? Do they feel the principal's listening to them? Do they feel that I'm listening to them? I love to have a student town hall just to know where their heads are. And sometimes they just want to talk. And I'm going to skip over spectrogram just for a moment, because I'm going to talk about my weekly link up. Every week I have a link up. Every Wednesday, actually, it's happening today at 2:15. My link up consists of the kids just talking, and we also have attendance giveaways. So any kid who's had 100% attendance for the past 5 days, we say, hey, we call them out, we give them a raffle, and then they win like a little prize, something like a pen or something like that, and I can mail that out through the school. Or we just have like just the kids just giving them congratulations. And you'd be surprised how many kids show up just for this link up, just because they want to do something other than the school day model. So I'm gonna actually have Tom, would you mind talking about spectrogram for a moment?
Yeah, so and spectrogram is my failed experiment at the beginning. When we remember when we tried to have I kind of explained it, but I basically illustrated it by putting my little stamps of hearts on the line. So spectrogram is originally used, when we're in person, before the virtual world came into our teaching, environment. We had a classroom, and students could go from one end or the other to describe how they feel about something, or if they agree or disagree. And if they go in the middle, and you can see where people stand in the room physically, and it's really powerful. We do it as adults all the time. We do trainings. It's a good way to gather information, but it's also so meaningful for the students to see, like, where do I fit contextually in, like, how proud I am of how I cook, or whether or not what I think about some aspect of my community, whether I love it or hate it or whatever. So spectrogram helps. It's a great way to gather information, and we do it electronically the way I showed earlier.
Great. Thank you, Tom. You can go to the next slide. So create a clear agenda and lesson plan. Follow it during your sessions. I myself, right now, I have a lesson plan in front of me. Don't be afraid of it. Make sure that you're going by it, but also allow flexibility. You never know when something might go a little to the right or a little to the left, but it's not the end of the world. Sometimes you want to dial it back, sometimes you want to delve into it. And if that's something that the kids need to get off their chest, make sure that you have that flexibility to steer the conversation that way, and then kind of steer back to where you need it to go. Be personable. Focus on the relationships that you have with the students. Ask them about their day, ask them about their families. Some students will give you that information, some students won't. But as long as they seem that you're interested, they're going to be interested. We can go to the next slide. And finally, and Aaron touched on this as well, find the students that the other students relate to. This is so important. I feel it's a little more important in high school. When we came into this year, we started out remotely. So the students who were participating the most, I started to reach out to them and say, hey, can you bring a couple students into this class? Can you see if the students would like to do this thing or that thing? It has worked so much. You reach out directly to them, find out what they want to do, and most likely what they want to do, the other kids want to do. Now, we're all working virtually, and I'm not sure if everybody knows their students. So if you don't know all of your students in the school, sometimes you want to reach out to the teachers, the principals, the staff, ask them, which students do you think is more influential? as far as getting the other students to come on board. They'll give you the information that you need. Just need to use the resources as much as possible. I have high school kids, and I know that building relationship with high school kids is what has made me successful as far as getting them to be involved as much as possible. Luckily, I've been in my school before COVID, so I was able to build relationships that now I'm able to have them come into the classrooms, have them interacting with me, have them bringing other people. So I've been lucky to do that. But there are definitely ways that you can find students to come into any classroom that you have. And I think it's so important that you build that relationship as much as possible. And that's all I have for today. Thank you very much.
Oh, Preston, thank you. Yeah, great shout out for Preston. Obviously, again, another sort of really engaging, calm, cool, authentic, your presence or something. I just believe you. You could have told me something really off and I'd be like, okay, I believe it because Preston said it. Like there's just something very compelling about the way you present. And yet it also is I think a little bit on the calmer, like more soothing than the, hey style. Both work, but it's just really cool to see your style highlighted here as well. And thank you for bringing on the high school perspective. So important. And I've seen the comments people are giving in praise of your work, all four of you. And it's really great. Again, this is so much fun for me because I get to hang out with them. And also, I want to point out something amazing. Their time management, that's something that goes, it's like the less cool part of it, but each one of them like nailed the amount of time that I asked, we kind of decided on that we would be able to do, and they nailed it. So we're not going over, which is like such a key element of facilitation as well. It takes us real discipline because each one of these presenters could do this workshop for 3 hours and we'd be here all day and it would still be engaging, but we only have an hour and 15 minutes. We're closing in on the last 9 minutes. So I just wanted to share my appreciation for them. And also give some time right now for anybody to ask questions for our panel here. Might not be able to answer all of them because we only have a few minutes, but does anybody have any more questions for our panel? And then I'll share the evaluation link, which hopefully will work. Will we be getting the slides? I'll address that. Yes, the slides are going to go out. I believe also a video of this presentation is going to be made public so that you'll be able to see, because when you get the PDF of the PowerPoint, you won't be able to actually watch the videos, but the links to the videos are in the PowerPoint, so you just type it into your computer and you should be able to get it that way. Okay, one for the panel. How do you get the parents engaged if the children cannot work the computers, schedules, etc., on their own? You need that parent buy-in. It's funny you should say that because Whitney actually, I believe it was Whitney, mentioned this in her original presentation, and we took it out because we thought we didn't have time for it. So I'm really glad that you mentioned it. Whitney, can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm at an elementary school, there's the difference. You're talking about, are you getting parents to buy in? Are you getting students? You need them students to come, but the parents are the ones bringing them. So you're really recruiting parents who are bringing their kids. And the way that I recruit parents is Class Dojo. I know for me and Erin at 315 is the best resource. If your school has a Class Dojo, which it most likely does, ask them if the administrator can make your own page. So I have a 21st century page on my Class Dojo. I post the links for the day. I'm talking directly to the parents. I can send them direct messages. It's how those parents communicate with their teachers for schoolwork. So they're checking it regularly. And I've slipped into there and can direct message them themselves. So that's my big way of getting parents to come in. And I can talk to them directly like, hey, we missed you at class today, rather than sending that to the student who didn't really have a choice.
Great, thank you, Whitney. Also, there was another question from Megan for Preston about can you use Remind individually with parents and students, or must you create groups? And Preston replied in the chat box, you can send direct messages or create groups with Remind. And if this was a longer presentation, we could go more into specifics, but I think if you Google any of those specific questions, you'll be able to get the answer, obviously, super quick. All right, so it's 11:08. I think it's, any other app ideas to draw high school students in other than typical social media? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Not sure what typical social media would be as opposed to atypical, but if you have any thoughts.
You said app ideas?
Yeah, I think it was app specifically, but not sort of, typical social media, it sounds like.
I don't know any other app ideas, but as far as drawing high school students, word of mouth is the best. Just letting them tell about the services that are going on. Word of mouth is the best, but social media has worked the best for me.
Thank you. And Monique Porter says Flipgrid. Yeah, this is open source here. Edpuzzle is another. Yeah, I know we have this whole room. We have 100 and something experts. So this is also a time for you. Don't just rely on us. You can put it in the chat box. But I'm also, because it's now 11:09, I'm going to share the evaluation link. Please click on that link, and that'll take you. It should take you 3 minutes to be able to complete. And hopefully that link works. Also, Jorge just shared it as well. So please take the survey, click on that link and take the survey, please, just to let us know how we did. So appreciative of the feedback. Yeah, Gloria says Flipgrid is awesome. Band is an app that you can use that's similar to Remind also. So yeah, it was really great also to see all the praise that everybody had for the facilitators today. I felt really buoyed by it and really appreciative. And we asked the question earlier, what are you grateful for? And I'm just grateful for the generosity of the facilitators here and also of the whole audience. So thank you so much. It's been a real great pleasure being asked to provide this meeting and the session, and fun just being a part of it. So we actually have a few more minutes, so I'm just gonna let the chat box run at this point. If people have further questions, we'll keep addressing them right up to 11:14, and then we'll log off. So yeah, if you have any other questions, we'll just hang out and see what happens. Also, thank you to Jorge and Melissa for their help.
Can I respond to a question in the chat from Joanne?
You certainly don't need my permission.
Hi, Joanne. If you're still on the call, I want to acknowledge your question about the academic component. So at our school, we have, through 21st Century, of course, we have a portion that goes to TLP and a portion that goes to the school. So really the academic part of our programming is provided by the school. And this year, because there was a lot of lost learning, the principal and I came up with office hours for teachers and maybe even your grade leaders specifically to have office hours after day school to help meet those benchmarks that are missing, right? That are part of your CEP goals and whatever else. So that's a really useful way that we found to use that funding and also help our scholars progress with what they've been missing. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Tom, I don't know if she got to see it, but at my school, definitely the teachers, right? They're the ambassadors. They know the kids and they know who needs help. So they recruit, they speak to parents and get them that way. But we also, for science, have Science Showdown. So half the time is split where if they have questions, specific science questions, they can ask. And then the last half of the class, they play science games on different websites. They use Kahoot, depending on the age, the grade that they're doing. But they do that so that it reinforces what they've learned during the day. And they don't feel like they're still in an academic class and sitting there for an hour being lectured to.
Thank you, Shawnee. Well, that was very satisfying.
All right, folks, I am going to jump in here. I want to give a big shout out to the leadership program and these great and wonderful, fantastic, dynamic, calm. I mean, if you didn't know what style of facilitation you were before this, you might have a clue because you saw it today from this brilliant repertoire of folks that just kind of greeted us with, I mean, I learned something new. Obviously, I do this every single day, so thank you. Shout out to all of you for doing this great work. I'm going to create a server so I can do that Roblox thing with my daughter and her friends. Roblox. Super excited about that. Shout out to Alita, Felicia, all the folks at the New York Resource Center, Melissa, Lori, and all of you for doing the great work. On that note, we want to thank you for joining us. And you don't have to go home, but you do have to leave this virtual space, folks. So on that note, I will leave you. Thank you. We gotta stop this recording and get it out to folks as quickly as possible. So have a wonderful day. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes to get out, probably like about a minute, and then I'm gonna stop it all together. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.